Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Tuesday. I took Memorial Day off and took a little breather. The weather didn't seem pretty quiet. And of course, Kovu decided that today he's going to make an on screen camera appearance, the good boy that he is. So he's going to help us take us along with the weather pattern. You know, one of the things I'm seeing on my Facebook page and some of the comments here on YouTube is the fact that there seems to be this wholesale panic going on with regards to the weather going forward. That somehow the fact that we're in this cool and sort of gloom and doom pattern here in the eastern part of the United States is a signature of what it's going to be like for the whole summer. And let me just point out that I've seen this many times before in the spring over the years, and what usually happens is that the pattern just simply will switch off at some point and go into a summertime mode. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow or next week. I can remember one particular spring. I don't quite recall what year it was, but I do remember that it was almost till about the 4th of July before we had that kind of a flip. And it was a rather short summer period that followed, but, it does flip eventually. It doesn't stay like this forever. And, taking us through the weekend on the upper air, we have this strengthening upper low sitting over the northern Great Lakes. So we're continuing to see this jet displaced somewhat to the south. You've got lower pressures up in southern areas of Greenland and offshore. There's a little bit of an upper high that's sitting in northern Greenland, northwestward toward the pole. So, it's not, let's call it an ideal block, but it's blocky enough that it continues to displace the trough in the east further south. And we're going to swing this through gradually over the next couple of days. So I think we're probably going to get a little bit of improvement here in the Northeast tomorrow, at least from the standpoint of seeing some sunshine. But there will be the threat for some thunderstorms. And we also have some thunderstorms to worry about today in some areas, and I just want to point that out now for this afternoon, and we'll get to that in a second. Another front's going to come through on Saturday, and you can still see there's troughing here in that lingers in the east into early next week. So this might mean for something to happen here later Sunday into Monday. But I just want to tell you that the system here is a lot weaker than what the models were showing yesterday. Also, you could also see there's like an upper high that forms up in central Canada. So this also keeps this jet displaced south. There are many different ways, by the way, that you could get nasty weather, or let's say long periods of weather that's not the way you like it. And it doesn't always have to come with a block. We don't have a blocking high up in the Greenland area, but we do have a bit of a blocking high there in central Canada. So that's doing the job as well, as far as keeping things from getting very warm here in the east. So, there's a sense of troughing through a good chunk of next week along the east coast. And we actually also have a strengthening upper low that forms over north of Hudson's Bay, now going into the weekend of January 10th. And you do have a little bit of blocking high that forms up near Greenland here in the longer term. You can see it right up here. And you've got this jet displaced further south, but at least it seems that from the positioning of the block, everything wants to move along. So I don't see any big ridges in the east. I don't see any big heat waves that are going to be developing for the first part of June. But certainly the pattern is going to be active enough. And I'm going to come back to that. We'll look at the surface situation in just a second. Here's the Storm Prediction Center's view of severe weather today, and it has a slight risk from northern Virginia through central Pennsylvania into upstate New York. This is where the air is unstable. We have a much more stable atmosphere along the coast because of the onshore flow, which is weak, but it's still there. So this will probably keep us from getting any kind of severe weather today. And in fact, I would suspect that if we get any shower or thunderstorm activity, it would be isolated in nature. The main concentrated area is further inland, and we have also a marginal risk through Missouri into East Kansas and northern Arkansas, and even a marginal risk up in the northwest, in interior Oregon into Washington State. And notice a larger area of general thunderstorm activity. And here's the probability: 15% probability of thunderstorms becoming severe in that area of large risk, and 5% in the other areas. And as we look, I'll go ahead. We'll go back one day. This is go ahead one day. I'm sorry. This is for Wednesday, and we have a marginal risk for upstate New York and into New England, and back through Pennsylvania into West Virginia, and a small area of marginal risk back through Kansas and a small part of Missouri. Now, I'm suspecting that this might get increased to a slight risk in some areas for tomorrow. And that area, by the way, the marginal extends into extreme northwestern New Jersey and interior, just say north of Route 84 in the Hudson Valley, northwestern Connecticut, and points northward. And here's the midday radar at the moment. You know, getting some shower and some isolated thunderstorms up where the slight risk area is. Other showers and storms scattered from off the mid-Atlantic coast on southwestward into around southern Louisiana. And then you have that cluster where we have the marginal risk of severe weather for today in parts of Kansas and Missouri, and not much yet happening in the Pacific Northwest. So let's switch off to the surface map and show you how this is all going to play out. And let's go back just a little bit. Okay, so you know we have this onshore flow here in the east. There's still another little wave that's off the Virginia coast late today into tonight. That's kind of pinching the onshore flow to the immediate coast. But then it does relax on Wednesday. We get maybe a little bit more of a southwest flow. So I'm hoping that we get into some sunshine, and you can see the scattered areas of precip that the GFS shows. And then that goes by, and it looks like Thursday should be an okay day into Friday. And here we have the next weather front coming down on Saturday up from the north, and there's a high coming down. Now, one of the things that the GFS has changed on this is the fact that the model had a much stronger high building down and a much more well-defined front with well-developed showers and thunderstorms ahead of it. This does not seem to be the case at the moment. And that front is going to stall to our south, and we have a wave that's going to be coming out from the plains across the Ohio Valley, and this will probably bring some rain here Sunday night into Monday. You can see it here. It actually is a pretty good shot of rain that moves on through, and we're still in an onshore flow into the first half of next week, it seems. So I don't know how much drying we're going to get. We may have to wait till the middle of next week to get some real drying if this is correct. And then going forward after that, we are, doesn't look anything, overly worrisome. Out in the west, very fast, we've got, our action for today. Let me just roll it back for you. And, you see the scattered areas of thunder out in the west. No real big organized systems coming in. Looks like some good action developing this weekend across parts of the northern and central plains. That eventually translates into the east. But, in the west, other than some scattered activity, early next week, there looks like there's something that wants to form in the northern Rockies with some rain and thunderstorms there that eventually makes its way into the plains. But again, nothing that looks truly ominous at this point. I'm going to jump real quick to the new GFS, which is just coming out now, so we can at least see how far along we have with that before we call it a day, and see if the models remain consistent with the idea going into the weekend. So, Thursday and Friday look like two okay days. Here's our front for Saturday. Looks like it comes through a little faster and a little weaker Friday night. We are dry at least into Saturday night, and here comes low pressure that's beginning to approach for Sunday. And you know what? Since I have a second, why don't we just look at the European from last night? Because the European has been much better with all of this. And, here we are now for today, moving away. Pretty much here's the European's a little different. The European has a little weak front that falls apart, that does it for Thursday, that you can barely see it. It actually doesn't bring the front through here until Saturday evening. It's got this sort of stretched out low, one low off east of Boston, and then here's that low that's coming out of the plains. This is for Saturday evening. And then for Sunday evening, as we go forward, looks like the weather conditions here with the European are a little faster. You've got the low up in northeastern Michigan and a warm front that gets pinched back down into Virginia. So this would argue for a very nice Sunday at all in the Northeast. And then that moves along. Now, the European has a different picture for early next week. Instead of keeping the flow onshore-ish, it would argue that things would dry out as we go through next week. So we'll see how the models resolve all this going forward over the next couple of days. All right, everybody have a great day. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Just hit the little red subscribe button. And don't forget, you can also check the latest website posts on meteorologistjoechaffee.com. Angry Ben has nycweathernow.com for New York City specific weather. And just want to remind you, if you are on Long Island, I'm going to be tomorrow night at the Patchogue Medford Library in Patchogue, New York at 7 p.m. for an hour and a half of, let's call it weather talk and weather conversation. We'll talk about what's going on weather-wise and the upcoming hurricane season. Hurricane season starts, as you know, on Tuesday. So, I'm sorry, on Thursday. Days are starting to catch up with me. All right, everybody have a great day. Kobu, say goodbye. There he goes. Bye-bye. All right. See you tomorrow.